Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're out here with Arwen today, and if Shadowfax bites the phone and I drop it, sorry. He's been doing that a lot lately. So today I just wanted to start talking about goat communication, because goats do communicate, and they communicate a lot. Now, we're all familiar with all the noises goats make, but primarily goats communicate through body language. So, for example, a goat that is alarmed will stand rigid. He'll have his legs firmly planted, he'll have that tail up over the back, and their ears will be pitched forward, and they'll look ready to run. That is a goat that is alarmed and ready to move if they have to. A goat that is alarmed may start stomping or kind of doing this snort that's kind of a loud, high-pitched sneeze kind of sound. That's to alert other members of the herd that there might be something up and we might have to run. So you might notice a goat doing that if there is, for example, a fox in the area, or if there's an unexpected car, or if they're just startled for any particular reason. Goats sometimes get startled, especially if they're fainting goats, right, Arwen? So another way they communicate is by showing dominance. A goat that is showing dominance will glare at other goats, will crowd them, might bite them, might even butt them. It's important to know that if your goat is doing this to you, you need to put a stop to it. You don't have to be violent or anything like that, but you do need to stop your goat from trying to assert dominance over you. You don't want to allow aggression towards humans to continue, because you're the top goat. You might be a human, but you're the top goat. So you need to quietly stop and redirect your goat. Do it gently. Be kind. I'm not saying start beating on the goat or anything like that. Gently. But you need to stop them from trying to headbutt you or trying to bite you or any of those things where they're showing dominance. Because dominance is a perfectly normal way goats communicate. Okay, they will bite each other. They will butt each other. That's what they do when they're establishing who's in charge. But they can't do it to you. You need to be in charge of your herd. So if you're not in charge of your herd, then the goat's in charge, and that's not good. So make sure that you stop any aggression towards humans and redirect them, and basically let them know you're top goat. Even though you're a human, you can still be top goat. So you might notice other things like them rubbing up against each other in affection, or the more time you spend with your goats, the more you will learn how your particular goats communicate. Because sometimes what happens is slightly different herds communicate in a slightly different way. So the body language your goat uses to communicate affection might be slightly different from the body language another goat uses to communicate affection. So spend some time with your goats and you will learn their particular little nuances. You will learn how they're communicating using their body language. And it would be remiss of me if I didn't talk about their sounds. Because even though I just said they primarily communicate through body language, and they do still use sound. And just a little point of clarification here. We're always calling the sounds they make bleats and baas. I do it too. But the proper term for the sounds the goats make are calls. It's a goat call, not a goat bleat. Sheep's bleat, goats call. So we call them bleats and baas. I do it all the time. I always say, oh, Arwen's bawing. But the proper term is call. Okay, it's a goat call. Though nobody actually says that. We all call it bleats and baas. That's just, but for the record, the proper term is calls. So they'll call in greeting, for example. So if you walk out to your herd, they'll start calling towards you. They might call to demand food, and that will have a different pitch than their, hey, how are you doing, call. That call they use to say hi is not going to be the same call they use to say food. Food now will be more of a demand, and hi will be happy and higher pitched. So again, you'll learn to differentiate between the different sounds your goats make, the different pitches. They also use their calls to locate others. They might locate other humans, they might locate other goats, and they certainly locate their own children, their kids. So they will use slightly different sounds, slightly different calls to talk to different creatures. You might even hear a mama murmuring really low to her babies, especially when they're newborns. So that's all really normal. All these different sounds are incredibly common with goats. Remember, goats are noisy. So all the different sounds are going to happen. The one sound you don't want to hear is screaming. A goat that's actually screaming, and I'm not going to try to make her scream because screaming means pain or terror, and we don't want her scared or hurt. But the goat scream means something terrible is happening. It is not something you can ignore. So if you hear your goat screaming, get out there right now. Okay, a screaming goat is telling you, I'm absolutely terrified or I am in a lot of pain. A little pain won't do it. It has to be a lot of pain. So if your goat screams, get out there. Okay, it's really, really important. But all in all, goats are noisy creatures. Okay, we all know that. Goats are so freaking loud. So they call all the time. They cause a ruckus. Even if they're not making actual noises, they're like bashing into things. They're noisy animals. So if you don't like noisy animals, you might want to skip having goats. Yes, there are some goat breeds that are quieter than others. So Nubians are really loud. They're probably the loudest. Your fainters tend to be a little bit quieter. Nigerians aren't bad. Pygmies can be on the loud side. So it depends on the breed. But even the quietest goat is still going to be really, really noisy. So my recommendation is if you don't like noise, you probably don't want to get goats because they're noisy little guys. I love them, but they are very, very noisy. So if you have a problem with goat noises, you might want to skip getting goats and get something that's a little quieter. Though to be fair, most farm animals are pretty loud, the exception being rabbits. But your goats, your sheep, your horses, your cows, they're all kind of noisy. It's just part of living on a hobby farm. They make noises. Goats make noises to communicate, just like most other animals. They also use their body language. So pay attention to the sounds and how they're moving, and you will pretty soon learn what exactly your goat is trying to say to you. Because when they realize you can't read their body language very well, they'll be even noisier. So they'll use their voice to talk to you a lot. Anyway, that is about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. Get to know those goat sounds and know what your goat is trying to say. We'll see you tomorrow.